Celebrate the scrape by night. Applaud the grind, ignore.
Welcome in, guys. Welcome in to a Potatoes Eye live stream for the 1st of March. Good to see everybody. Not sure if His Words of Love is still in the chat, but she was the first one in before I started my highlight up. So I appreciate you being in and starting the chat up for us. Looks like we have Wick Moto in the chat. Thank you very much for being here, Wick. Homestead Wench, very much appreciate the engagement. And Stacy Lady Warrior, doing some interesting reading into the Bible. We got Apprentice. Appreciate you reminding us of the chat. If you haven't liked the stream, please like the stream and change your chat from top chat to all chat so that you see everybody in the chat. All right. And let's see, who do we got? And Ben, thank you very much for joining us. And Jess, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate the engagement while you can. TNT, very much appreciate you being here, buddy. Tara, thank you very much for the engagement. And Tyler TV, of course, as always, appreciate you being here. If you haven't checked out Tyler TV, check his stream out. He's a good streamer as well. Cool Vic, Rattlesnake TV, shout outs that I normally do, Crucible, those kind of things. All right. Looks like that might be everybody in the chat so far. I greatly appreciate everybody being here. Let's get into our intro here. Maybe. There it is. All right. Welcome back, my beautiful Tater Nation. It's me, of course, your friendly neighborhood potato, reporting from beneath the soil, watching the world grow, and occasionally tripping over its own shoelaces, as we're seeing recently, right? And you know us potatoes, we have lots and lots of eyes. We like watching all the interesting and crazy things that humans do up top. From culture to politics, from history to the headlines, from common sense to complete nonsense, breaking it down as only a potato can. Today we're going to be digging in, brushing off the dirt, and taking a good, honest look at what's really going on. So grab a seat, grab a snack, preferably a potato, and let's see what the world has for us today through a potato's eye. And as always, we'll start off with our inspirational quotes. As one from myself, a voice never used is like a sprout, never trusted. It stays small out of fear. We need to exercise our rights to be able to hold on to them. And of course, Bruce Lee, long-term consistency trumps short-term intensity. So no matter what is happening in the world at the time, we have to consistently hold our ground for what is to come in the future. And it looks like we have a newcomer in the chat, Independent Thinker. Very much appreciate you being here. And the engagement. And of course, Hardwire, appreciate you being here, listening from the kitchen and changing out a sink faucet. That's always fun. And I believe he will be going live at the end of when I'm going live, like at the end of this live. So I can't raid anybody, but maybe we'll try to do a ghetto raid for Hardwire. And if anybody else is going live at the time, we'll see if we can shout them out as well. And then looks like TNT going to be listening only for a few minutes. It's time to clip the dog's toenails. All right. Well, fair enough. Appreciate the engagement while I can get it. And appreciate everybody being here as long as they can. All right. Let's see. So it looks like last comment that I'll highlight here before I get into it. Your rights are like a muscle, and if not exercised, they get weak. Exactly, Independent Thinker. That's exactly how I see them. So I'm here exercising my First Amendment right. And as much as I can, I hold to my Second Amendment and all of the other amendments that actually matter to me, right? All right. So getting into our day, today I want to talk about a few different topics, many different topics, actually, probably more than I'll be able to cover. There's some things that have been happening that I haven't been able to get to because of everything else that has been happening. So I'll be trying to cover some of that as well. But to start off, I like to start our day off with something funny. So we're going to start off with Nick Freitas and the State of the Union address. This was what basically, oh, of course, boomered it up already. Here we go. This is what somebody had said about the president's speech.
Apparently, the Congresswoman has a proposal for us.
I'll just end with this. I would rather stick forks in my eyes than be here tonight to listen to Donald Trump.
Well, all right. I guess that's fair enough. And what does he have
I've heard
to say?
enough. We agree to your terms. Let us know if your friends need forks as well.
I think that's an agreeable term. Yeah. And then going further into, let's see, Nick Freitas. This is funny.
Men versus women, head-to-head, two best teams in the world. Winner gets voting rights in the next...
Sorry, I'll restart it.
I'm listening.
Men versus women, head-to-head, two best teams in the world. Winner gets voting rights in the next election.
Winner gets voting rights in the next election. Women versus men in a hockey match?
No, that's not it. You don't want that. No.
Dude, shut up.
First of all, dude, shut up. He does not speak for the rest of us. No, he's clearly a misogynist.
It's such a misogynist take. Come on. They deserve every chance in fighting for their right.
The rest of us believe that women are equally capable as men in everything, to include ice hockey. Just to be clear, when you say that no women will be allowed to vote, you just mean the women that think this is a good idea? Okay, and of course, men who identify it because they're real women. That's what we say. Anyways, we should do this. I mean,
just like, come on, this has got to happen.
I can't believe I'm not going to get to vote next election. But seriously, can we do it before the midterms?
Before the midterms? I can't be held responsible for what my face does when you talk. As always, his mugs are great. And then, of course, back to the chat. Benjamin, the brain is also a muscle that needs to be flexed. If it's never stretched with good, wholesome material, it will remain stagnant. And that's a very good word of wisdom there. That's why I try to bring wholesome material to the front, not just the same old that we see from everybody. I like to bring different things to the front as well. All right. And couple more funny ones before we get into the meat of the day. This one is pretty funny. Go ahead and highlight this one. Not sure who this is. Let's see. Ask America with Edgar, it looks like. This is the first time I'm really seeing of this. They've had a couple of clips that have been kind of freaking hilarious, but yeah, we'll just...
Edgar, can I tell you what I think the centralized problem with humanity is?
Oh, I am all ears, baby.
Men.
What do you both have to say, those misogynists who say women belong in the kitchen?
I say it's a new time.
I couldn't agree more. I think cooking is far too important of a task to entrust to women.
That was rough. TNT, I have a fork she can borrow. Yeah, I have a few forks that I could loan out for the cause. I'd take one for the team. Stacy, yeah, that mug was pretty epic, wasn't it? He has some pretty epic mugs. I don't know if you've seen him or some of his other mugs that I've shown, but they're pretty epic. And then just so you guys know, I'm getting error on my internet as always. It seems to be holding lately, but just so you know, if I drop, I will be back. And then Homestead Wench, I'm gladly giving up my rights to vote to allow the patriarchy the opportunity to be back on top. I appreciate that, Homestead. Again, this is for your benefit, and I'll be talking about that a little bit in today's stream, so I won't necessarily get into it right now.
Oh, what? Them's fighting words, bro.
All right, and then this guy here, his name's let's see, what is his name? Reed Choi, and he does some funny skits. This one is pretty hilarious. He did a couple of other ones that have been really good, but this one really stood out to me, so we'll go ahead and show this one.
Hey God, so Ramses said no about letting your people go, and he might have mentioned the fact that he's not afraid of it because he has the other Egyptian gods that are stronger than you. Interesting.
Stronger than you? I'm sorry, what?
What are his other gods? Oh God, I was afraid that this was gonna happen. He mentioned Hapi, the god of the Nile. Interesting. Gabriel, turn that river into Kool-Aid.
Into Kool-Aid. Yeah, I think it was a little worse than Kool-Aid, but we'll go with it.
Go on. Hecate, the goddess of fertility and water. She has the head of a frog. Cool. Here's 1 billion frogs. Let's see if that's fertile enough for them.
Fertile. Fair enough. And so remember, all of these plagues were associated with other gods. And what do we have going on today with all of the different things that are happening, right?
Keep going. You're really not going to like this one. Geb, god of the earth, controls dust and stuff like that. Dust. Perfect. I love it. Turn all the dust into lice. Let's see how they like that. Kepri, god of creation. He has the head of a fly. Swarms. Next. I saw that one coming from
a mile away. Oh, yeah, Ben. Yeah, exactly. Them's fighting words. I thought you didn't want to be in the kitchen. I thought it was such a problem for you to be in the kitchen, so just leave it to the men for them to do it. I don't know. I don't want to be in the kitchen, so why is it fighting words? I don't get that either, for sure. Anyway.
Oh, wait, there's Hathor, the goddess of the harvest with the head of a cow. Kill all the cows. You know what? Why stop there? All the livestock. Screw it. Okay, I don't know if I should keep going, but I
don't know if I should keep going. And then it just keeps getting worse.
Isis, the goddess of medicine. Boils and sores. Everyone has them. Has Isis revealed to them what dermatology is yet? Has Isis revealed to them what dermatology is? I don't even know what that is. Okay, but there's Nut, the goddess of the sky. Seth, the god of storms. And Ra, the god of the sun. Fire and ice falls from the sky. The locusts will eat everything that's left, and they worship the sun? Okay, no sun. Let's just get rid of it. There's one more thing. The Pharaoh might also think that he's the son of Ra, and so he himself is divine. He thinks he's the son of God. He kind of stole
God stole my thunder.
My thunder there. All right. Let's kill all the firstborns.
Oh, I laughed because what else do you do, right? TNT, it looks like I can't highlight that particular one because it didn't pop up on that screen for me, but it says, holy cow, Marines whacked 22 Pakistans trying to take over our embassy. Enjoy your virgins. That's actually interesting. I'm assuming that's going on in Iran. I won't be covering a whole lot of it myself because I'm trying to get a little bit more information as it's just still pretty fresh. But that's interesting. Good for them, I guess.
Kill all of them. Hey, God.
Sounds about right. All right.
Oh, look. It's the first.
Let's see. What else do we have here? And then some of the more serious stuff. This is something that... So this is a little bit concerning Iran from Nick Freitas. There's not many people that I trust with what they say. This is more of just funny. So we'll go ahead and cover this for right now.
Well, I just did about a 2.5 hour assessment online about everything that's going on in Iran right now. And for anybody that's curious, look, I'm always skeptical of the United States military once again getting involved in foreign interventions. But I also recognize that is part of the role of the federal government, is to protect the United States against enemies, foreign and domestic.
Yeah. So if what they're saying is happening as they're saying it is, with the nuclear weapons facilities being rebuilt and things like that, yeah, we need to be making sure that we're not in concern with that. But if that's not what's really going on, and considering I don't reside there, I'm not in it, I can't speak exactly what's going on. I can just show you what other people are reporting on it. And
Iran has definitely been an enemy to the United States. There's no question of that. What degree of military involvement should we participate in? I actually think that Donald Trump has a pretty good track record on this so far, where he will use overwhelming military force to achieve well-defined objectives, but he doesn't deploy massive ground forces to try to foolishly set up parliamentary democracies in countries that don't want them. By the same token, in Iran, you actually see people rising up against their own government.
And again, I'm not about setting up shop everywhere. I'm not about dominating the whole entire world, as far as I'm concerned. But this is, you know, if the Iranian people are all for it, you know.
In Trump's speech, he said something very important, which was he encouraged the military and police in Iran to lay down their weapons or join the resistance. And that's what it's going to take. The Iranian people have to be the ones that decide their own fate. But insofar as the United States can participate in such a way that might create an opportunity for them to be able to do that without U.S. forces having to do the heavy lifting, that might be a good bet.
Yeah. As long as we don't send troops in, as long as we don't have boots on the ground, I don't know exactly how much I can really complain about it. If we can get the people in Iran to stand up and take back their own government. Again, similar to what we may need to do at some point in time too. Let's see. So again, I'm not getting all my highlights, of course, because, you know, potato, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, long story short, Homestead says, Mr. B, I'd be happy to stay in the kitchen. I'm not one of those females. Jess the Shepherd says, right there with you, Homestead. And Stacy says, same, girls. Appreciate you, women, trying to basically speak out. I mean, I know that you're not necessarily speaking out per se, but I appreciate you guys having the respect for the patriarchy to try to give you back the freedom to be able to raise kids and to stay at home and have that luxury. TVT, thank you very much for joining me, buddy. I appreciate you being here and the engagement. Trump is just returning the favor in triplicate. Yeah, they've been an enemy of ours for a long time, so I don't know exactly how much I can really speak on it. Next week, I might cover a little bit more when I get some more information on it. Let's see. They may need boots on the ground in some limited capacity. Yeah. And that's what I'm a little worried about. As long as we don't have a whole lot of casualties, it's just we don't have the means to be doing war after war after war and things like that. So, reading of, but I can't necessarily highlight it. I'm glad. Independent thinker. I would gladly vote. Take all. Fair enough. Farmer Cat, thank you very much for joining me here. Appreciate the engagement. All right. Yeah. Apprentice, independent thinker. That's funny. Yeah, it's the motherfucking Arma. Let's see. Okay, so we'll get back to this.
So I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna be cautiously optimistic. I will give the Trump administration more benefit of the doubt than probably any other administration in my recent lifetime. But by the same token, if this ever does get to a point where people are suggesting large deployment of U.S. ground forces, I'm going to be real skeptical of that. And
I'm going to be real skeptical. I'm going to be with him on that. I'm going to be real skeptical of what's going on.
Better come with a declaration of war. Because the bottom line is that if we are going to commit U.S. forces to combat operations, then I expect members of Congress to display an ounce of the courage they expect out of our men and women in uniform. But until then, I wish the best for the Iranian people. I hope they overthrow the Ayatollah. I hope all of our American servicemen and women come home safe. God bless.
As I understand it, the Ayatollah may have been found deceased. I'm not real sure. Again, I haven't really been doing a whole lot of research on it because I've been trying to focus on today's stream, and that wasn't necessarily what I was going to focus on for today's stream. See, Jess the Shepherd. My life is so much easier letting my shaggy shepherd carry that load. Again, I appreciate the women speaking out here. Most women hate other women. Yeah. They all secretly try to sabotage each other, it seems like. I don't know. I'm just speaking as a potato, guys, so don't hate me. Yeah, I agree. All right. So getting into, let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, so this is another one that's actually really big to me. I told you guys that I started out with the ecosystem and the the food and the Green New Deal and all of that. And I kind of fell away from that. And I've been seeing some things coming up. And there was something that I heard or saw about grizzly bears being reintroduced into California. Now, that's not something that they're doing yet. It's just a proposition being brought forth. And so I started to do a little bit of research on the wolves, right? We introduced the wolves into California, Idaho, Oregon, Wyoming, a few other states. And according to the reports that I was finding with the government, with who has implemented the reintroduction of the wolves, they say it's a success. Oh, it's an overwhelming success. It's keeping the deers and the elks and them away from the trees, and it's doing an amazing job of making them migrate like they need to be doing, and it's doing an amazing job of curbing the population. Well, if you ask the ranchers that are dealing with this, they have a very much different story to tell when it comes to the wolf population and what it's doing to their cattle. So I'll bring you into this here. This isn't exactly on the wolves. This is actually a proposition that's been raised, and it has something to do with the wolves. So we'll talk about that here in just a second. Mr. B, it says, the only problem is that if we control all the oil in the world, is if the price of oil drops too far, we might not have enough demand for the oil or for the supply. Oil prices drop, and then we end up with no oil work. Yeah, and that's a little concerning as well. And hardwire anything to eat more liberals. Fair enough. Mr. B, if we control oil in Iran, Venezuela, and North America, it might drop prices too low. Part of the reason why they kind of cap here in America a lot, from what I understand. I don't know. I could be wrong. Again, I'm a potato. Yeah, that worked so well with the wolf. Exactly, Stacy. That's what we're going to be kind of talking about here in just a second. All right, we'll get into it.
You could see $50 a pound hamburger in the state of Oregon in just a few years to make way for the wolf.
And see, that's why I say it has something to do with the wolf. But if you're looking at $50 a pound for meat, that's going to push more agendas and furthering that 3D printed and that lab grown and all of that other garbage that I was showing in, I believe, the last stream.
And you might think, how did you put those two things together? Well, let's go over it. Right now, there's a bill that they're gathering signatures for in Oregon, and they call it the Peace Act, because what it does is actually make farming, hunting, even fishing, catching a fish for your dinner, illegal. Raising chickens, anything like that. You can't even help a cow have her calf. That would be considered animal cruelty. They've got 100.
This is getting out of control. We cannot allow our government to control all of this. To say that we cannot even help the cows have their calves, to do what we need to do to proliferate this species, is getting a little out of hand at this point in time. We cannot allow these globalists to force us into eating what they want us to eat. If you live in Oregon or know anybody in Oregon, apparently this is for you.
1,000 signatures on this thing already. They only need 17,000 more to put it on the ballot. I'm going to tell you in a minute how this is actually directly correlated to wolves. First, I want to tell you exactly what you're doing when you're signing this thing. You're not just making farming and ranching illegal.
Hey, Blood, appreciate you. Appreciate the stream earlier. And again, if you guys don't know Blood Logos, and he has his own channel, definitely check him out. Has some good takes on things. Again, not necessarily just kowtowing to everything. Questions, like I ask everybody to question. I don't want you to think like me. I just want you to think for yourselves, guys. So welcome in. Appreciate the engagement. Thank you very much, TNT. I'm sorry, TVT. If you can, I'd appreciate it. If not, no worries. He is correct about banning the husbandry, though. Yeah, I can understand that. I'm not a real rancher per se, so I don't know a whole lot about it, but I can understand that for sure. But yes, this is a little out of control. This was put out. When did he put this out? January, February, March. So just 6 days ago. So this is still fairly fresh. That's why I wanted to bring it. So I just came across this video today. Wasn't on my docket to go over, but because it is a little out of control, I want to bring it to the forefront as soon as I could, and then I'll probably clip it as fast as I can and get it out there. So if you live in Oregon, share it if you see it.
Literally making the creation of your food illegal. If you pass this bill to where you cannot actually create any protein, fish, poultry, hogs, beef in your state legally, number one, you're going to have to kill all the animals, so you're not saving anything. Number two, you're going to drive up the cost of every piece of protein you eat in the state of Oregon because you're going to have to import it from somebody else. This is what's called handing control of your food to someone you don't know. And
again, it's going to drive that 3D printed meat and give them funding for that, and the lab grown meat and give them funding for that, and people are going to want it because it's going to be cheaper. And we can't allow that to happen. Pharmacat, I can't necessarily highlight it, of course, because, potato. But you say, I get a little too personal and go elbows deep in a sheep to help with lamb birthing. And so when I had my sheep, I didn't have to go that far, but there were a couple times that I had to help. And it's either help and give the assistance or lose both of them. That isn't even really a choice. I don't understand this at all. Independent Thinker says it started with the Bundy Ranch. How soon we forget we the people was almost at war with the government over it. And that's just it right there, is how soon did we forget that? That wasn't even that long ago. And we're already dealing with this again. TNT, the wolves are necessary to remove the sick game. Anyone that says otherwise doesn't understand the circle of life. And I completely agree with that. It's the fact that nature has a way, right? Nature is going to find a way. It's going to do what it needs to do to stay around. And unfortunately, there are species that we've caused to be extinct. But the reintroduction of them, was it a good thing? Is it going to be a good thing for us to reintroduce grizzly bears into California? That goes into furthering of who are you protecting us from? The women, they love to say this, who are men protecting us from? Well, if we start reintroducing a bunch of predatory animals, we're going to be protecting you from the predatory animals as well. This idea that we don't protect you from anything but other men is getting a little ridiculous. Men do a lot more for women than just protect you from other men. Rick Dancer has done many interviews with Oregon congressmen on this topic. We've been fighting it for 6 years now. Every couple years, they bring it back under a new name. Fair enough. I appreciate the fight. And again, wolves are necessary for the circle of life. Yes, I agree with that. It's the fact that we keep reintroducing things that aren't necessarily good in the mass. Or we got to figure out a different way to do it or something. I don't know. But making every rancher in Oregon inadvertently Robin Hood character, raising their meat to screw over the sheriff. Yeah, Mr. B, that's kind of what it sounds like to me. His words of love. Hey, and welcome back. I don't know if you heard me call you out at first. I saw that you were first. Thinking that I'll be around until 2078 or something like that. Appreciate the words of hope there. Exactly, Tara. We protect from literally everything. This idea that it's just men that are the problem. Real Rain, thank you very much for the engagement. Appreciate you being here. Men protect women from their biggest enemy. They're women. That's not necessarily a disagreement either on that one. You know where the safest in the kitchen. Where is the safest for women? It's in the kitchen or matching socks. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. And then lastly, if you're a rancher that owns land, put up barbed wire. If you're using government land, you have to donate a few steer to the native animals. That's fair enough. Not sure exactly if the ranchers would agree with that. I'm not a rancher, but I don't disagree with you on that one. You need to do your due diligence to protect your land, because if it wasn't for us harvesting them out of population, they would still be around naturally, and they deserve to be around naturally because they do keep the circle of life going. All right, we'll go ahead and move on. Appreciate the engagement in the chat,
You're
guys.
trusting them to give you your food at a reasonable price. Sorry, that is ludicrous. When somebody controls your food supply, they control your life.
And then I'll also point out that this isn't necessarily about wolves here. It just ties it to wolves a little bit. This is more about that peace act. It's the fact that they're trying to make it so that we can't make anything detrimental to any animal is what this is saying. Not the wolves, where I don't know how much I agree with the wolves. I do agree with you, TNT. They are necessary. Men will protect women from everything, including nature, themselves. My wife makes some pretty dumb choices I have to protect her from sometimes. Fair enough. And that's just it, is as the patriarchist, and I'll be going over the patriarchy in depth. We are here to protect your mental, your physical, your emotional state. That's what we're here for. We have to be allowed to do that, though. Never Lucky Rubber Ducky. Appreciate you being here. I've been here just lurking. Oh, okay, fair enough. I appreciate the engagement and letting me know that you're in the back. I always like to know who's watching. So if you're in the back just watching, shout me out. Just say, hey, Tater, I'm here. I like to know who I can appreciate when I can. It was 2 hours before the stream. I figured his words. It's 2 hours before the stream. I think I wasn't first technically. I left and you got to stay. I think. I don't know. I don't make the rules. Well, I do. And you were first today, at least, because I didn't have that much engagement. So you were first. All right, moving on.
And they can set that price wherever they want it because you are not creating any of it yourself. So how does this correlate with wolves? Throughout the United States right now, there is a massive movement, which I call the predator obsession. And they want to put wolves everywhere. Oregon already has a wolf program, and there are over 200 wolves now, 7 breeding pairs and we can look at the other states where they already are to see how this works. You're going to gain 30 to 40% increase every single year. That's what happens when you have a lot of game animals like deer and elk for the wolves to kill and eat. So how's this tied to the bill? Well, there's a land grab, and it's bigger than just a small one.
So this is where it gets a little concerning to me, is the fact that it's and I could be wrong, and he could be wrong. I'm not saying that I know. I'm a potato. I'm just bringing forth subjects that seem like they make me go, right? And this makes me go, because it could very easily be a land grab like he's going to be explaining here. And then going further, what's going to end up happening if we were to reintroduce grizzlies as well? Justice Shepard, my mental state would benefit from a tiny house goat, but Shaggy Shepherd says no, a tiny house goat. Fair enough. And then, of course, if you haven't liked the stream, please like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so that you do see me. Most of the people that are in the chat right now, I believe, do have that notification turned on because you're always there for me, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. All right. And then TNT, let's see, IP28 equals bans farming and ranching, slaughter, husbandry, hunting, fishing, and animal research and experimentation, wildlife, pest management, breeding practices, artificial insemination. Okay. That's interesting because so the artificial insemination, I can understand the concern behind it. I can also understand the necessity of it because I have heard, being a small town citizen, I've heard a lot of horror stories about the bulls and about how aggressive they get with the females. So that's interesting. I'm curious how that will turn out. All right.
Going on worldwide right now. Global banks, along with the UN and the WEF, which is the World Economic Forum, are creating a financial system to financialize the very ground we walk on. The very ground that right now is raising your beef. After they eliminate the rancher, because he literally can't raise animals for food, they can come in and control the land. How does this work?
And see, that's where it gets concerning to me, is the fact that if they can get rid of all these small-time ranchers, and they're doing it, guys, regardless of whether it's because of the wolves or whether it's because they've curtailed the water or they've whatever, they're getting rid of our small-time ranchers, and we can't continue to do this. We've got to have food. We've got to have meat. We got to have our steaks. Well, I do. I like me and a steak and potatoes. All right. So yeah, Tara, exactly. All of this isn't new. They're just repackaging things after they fail over and over again. Anytime the government puts their hands on it, trying to control animal population, it goes horribly wrong. Just look at the time they tried to help Australia by introducing the cane toad into Australia. Yeah, Mr. B. And that's what I'm concerned about is if it's natural, if it comes naturally, I agree with it. Again, the circle of life. Life finds a way. But if it doesn't come naturally, then it's like introducing the, what are they called? I can't think of what they're called, but they're not native plants, right? And they start to just they just eat up all the nutrients from around the soil, and they just kill off all the plants because they're not native to that area, and they just take everything. So anytime that the government starts to get their hands into things, it makes me go, and that's all it boils down to. It went horribly wrong because they didn't have a natural predator and just overpopulated Australia almost immediately. Yeah, that's the thing is when we introduce things unnaturally, then you run the risk of that. At the same time, 3/5 of Oregon is desert or rangeland. There's no water to farm most of it. So any land grab would be simply to chance out the Republicans, to chase out the Republicans. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. So either way, concerning. All right, we'll get through this real quick.
They create credits out of thin air. Now, first it was carbon credits because they classified CO2 as a pollutant.
Invasive species. Yeah, you weren't necessarily reminding me, but thank you for reminding me, independent thinker. I wonder what they're going to reintroduce for the invasive lantern flies this summer. Yeah, when they introduce a invasive species of plant or an invasive species of mammal or animal or something like that, and some of it's not on purpose, right? I know a lot of people, a lot of areas have an issue with water. Like, so when you go into an area, you'll have a port of entry and you have to stop and wash your boat off because the mussels or something like that, they're invasive. then they'll kill everything else around them. So some of it's not natural, or some of it's not on purpose. But when it's on purpose, like this with wolves in reintroduction, is concerning. Audrey W9U8H. Thank you very much for the engagement. Appreciate you being here. Sadly, most of the conservatives I know aren't voting in the midterms for various reasons. Democrats have also been huge favorites to win the House on poly-market odds for the past few months. That's not good. Republicans, guys, get out there and vote. Make sure we don't lose that midterm election, which we probably will because we always do, it seems like. Always just flip-flops back and forth during the midterms, it seems. All right.
But they're moving beyond that now. They're creating what are called biodiversity credits. And if you own land where a wolf or a grizzly bear or another top-tier predator, which...
So this is where he actually explains how it ties back to the wolf, how it will tie back to the grizzly bear, like I was mentioning before, how I've tied it back. He doesn't tie it back to that because that's not part of this, but I researched grizzly bear, I researched wolf, and then I came across this video. Coincidence?
Maybe the mountain lion, but it has to be endangered to even get the top value. If you go on land or control land where any one of those top tier predators live, you can actually sell biodiversity credits to global corporations like massive oil companies, Saudi Arabia, and they will buy these credits to offset what they're doing as far as pollution. So to get the loans they need from the worldwide banks.
If you guys haven't seen that I don't know if it's a GIF. I think I've seen it, but say potato. Anyway, sorry. Thought it was funny.
To do business in other countries, they're going to be forced, they are forced already, to have a certain amount of these credits on their balance sheet. If they can get...
Oh, that's right, Tara. I think somebody else told me that. Audrey is a bot or a commie troll. I think I remember somebody else telling me that. TVT or somebody. Thanks for reminding me. Kudos was introduced. Kudzu was introduced in 1876 because of its irrigation properties. Now it's everywhere, destroying the natural tree population because it doesn't have any natural insect predators in Maryland. Exactly. Yes, exactly. Cool, Vic. Thank you very much for the engagement, buddy. Appreciate you being here. Hey, it's Audrey, the TDS bot. Yep. I have got the attention of bots. I must be making it, man. I must be making it. All right. Anyway.
Control the land, they can sell biodiversity credits. The top value for biodiversity credits is about $1,200 per unit. But the only way you get the top value is if you eliminate human disturbance. Hunters are classified as direct extraction, which is a discount of 15 to 30% on the value. So they have to eliminate those. But even hiking and camping, the trails we walk on, the footprint you're making, where you put your tent, is counted as a discount or a negative impact on the value of a biodiversity credit. Don't take my word for it. This is the TNFD, the Task Force for Nature something or other in Europe, is actually writing the rules of how to value these credits. So if you think that the bill, the Peace Act...
Hey, Crusader. Thank you very much for joining me, buddy. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, cool, I guess. Moving on up. Slowly but surely. Following in the footsteps of the good ones like yourself. All right, moving on.
That you're signing is actually going to help you. You got another thing coming. You're signing your own warrant to pay probably 5 times what you do now for any protein in the grocery store. And it's all to eventually make the people around the world, the globalists who can control your land and put wolves and grizzly bears on that land, millions upon millions. In fact, the UN estimates that the value of these assets...
Appreciate you being here, Abe. Appreciate you.
These carbon and biodiversity assets will exceed $1 trillion per year in 2030. If you signed that ridiculous petition in Oregon, you have the right to go back and demand that your signature be removed. Call into your county or your officials at the state and ask for the form that removes your signature from this ridiculous legislation where you're signing away your food supply. So what do we do about this stuff? Because that is happening all across the West. Not to that extent. I haven't seen a bill that ridiculous yet until this one.
But that's just it right there, Tara. You will eat the bugs, own nothing, and be happy. And they're trying to force that slowly to get you to either accept the 3D printed meat, the lab grown meat, or the cricket protein powder in a protein replacement because you can't afford $50 a pound for meat. That's what they're trying to do, whether it be through the wolf population or the this Peace Act or whatever. Either way, we have to be weary of what they're doing. Again, I don't have a problem with the wolf population. Please don't get it twisted that I'm saying that we need to eradicate the wolf population again. That's not what I'm saying. We just need to be wary of how we're doing it.
But what do we do about this financialization of nature? Because it's rampant across the entire United States. Right now, we have wolves in Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, Oregon, Northern California, Washington, Arizona, New Mexico, Minnesota, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and even North or South Carolina. I can't remember which one. And these wolves are costing us hundreds of millions of dollars a year in litigation fees and direct management costs.
And so in that, is it really the wolf, or is it just like TNT was saying, where you need to be securing your property? I'm not a rancher. I don't know the extent of what a wolf can do once it's been secured, but I know that so there are programs in place that if you get livestock that has been decimated because of wolves and you can prove it, they will reimburse you fair market wages. But in order to provide proof that it was an actual wolf, you have to get to it like almost immediately. You have to be able to prove that it was a wolf and not just other means of passing. And then, of course, we have the people that are going to try to use that system when they can. And so we have the people that are, wary of those. So the regulations are harder and things like that. Mr. B, I'm sorry, did he say that people in Europe are judging how farmers in America can affect their land? That's our slurred. Yeah, I didn't catch that. I'm not sure if that's what he was saying or not, but if that's the case, yeah, they need to back off. Some places do need to control the wolf population, though. Yeah, that's where, so like, they need to make sure that there's a window of hunting for that population, an X amount that needs to be taken or something like that to make sure that they're effectively curbed, as well as they're trying to curb the elk and deer population.
If we allow this to continue, we're paying our tax dollars to literally fund the takeover of the West through carbon and biodiversity credits. And those credits are going to be held on the balance sheet of globalist organizations, not philanthropic nonprofit organizations. These are going to be sitting on the balance sheet of for-profit corporations. And those credits don't just come out of the land and then they purchase them and they're gone. When they purchase those credits, they actually are purchasing the right to the biodiversity on your land. Think of it more as a mineral right. A carbon or a biodiversity credit sits on somebody's balance sheet, a World Bank, the HSBC, something like that. They now own the right to the land that you stand on, whether you own the title or not. So if you're a landowner and you sign over title to them, because they're doing that all over.
Yeah, exactly, Tara. That's exactly it. There needs to be a perpetual balance, and predators help a lot. And where California, New York, when have you ever heard of a bobcat sighting in New York or something like that, right? So we have to have those natural predators to be able to curb the natural livestock, things like that, but not livestock itself, just wildlife. There we go. That's the word I was looking for.
Over the place. You end up with someone else controlling how you move your cows, what you do on your land, how much human activity can be on your land.
And see, again, that's what I'm trying to focus on. Not so much the wolves, where I do have somewhat of an issue with the reintroduction of the wolves. I'm not a rancher, so I can't really speak a whole lot. But it's the fact that we've got the biodiversity credits being implemented. We've got the Peace Act being implemented. We've got the things that are stacking on top of each other to take your land from you, because now they own the biodiversity of that land, and something written in the clause makes it you don't own that anymore. And that's what I'm concerned about.
And that is directly tied to your title. So that means if you pass it to your children, it keeps going, because these credits have carbon credits have somewhere between 40 and 100 year lifespan, which is called a permanence time frame on them. But biodiversity credits are even longer. They're typically from 100 to 200 years.
And so again, if they're that long, if they can hold on to that credit for that long, they're going to be more apt to want to get a hold of those credits than the other credits that are just fleeting. And so they're going to be pushing for this kind of act, and pushing for more wolves, more bears, more things to drive you into panic, the rancher into an issue, that kind of thing.
That these things are good for. So that means they control your land for that amount of time. If you don't think that's a land takeover, I don't know what is. So what do? We know this is going on. This used to be conspiracy theory. Now it's written all over, and I see it happening on the ground. Then when you see a bill come forward in Oregon that virtually eliminates all other use for our food in Oregon, you see the connection, and it's not a conspiracy theory anymore, is it? The first thing we have to do is expose it, because I don't think most of the people listening to this understand that $50 a pound hamburger is tied to the bill that says Peace Act on it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, why would you think that the Peace Act would have anything to do with raising what is in the store, right? Especially with most of these people that vote, it seems like, well, why don't you just go to the store and buy your food instead of hunting it like everybody else does, and all that garbage, right? I personally like wild game meat. It's cleaner a lot of the time, and it's healthier probably for you. Beef, it's got a lot of fat to it. It's raised as a domestic animal. But Tara here, he says, as soon as all of this, as stupid as all of this is, I'm glad I was right about most of this the whole time. Still waiting for family and friends to come around and apologize, but that will never happen. Yeah, I know the feeling there, man, for sure. Independent Thinker says, bro, I seen a coyote walk on top of a chain link fence like a tightrope in the middle of Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah, dude, they are crazy. Like coyotes, wolves, they're wild with the wolves. The foxes. There's a reason it's called being foxy, right? And outsmarting people like a fox, because they're ridiculously bright, and it's kind of ridiculous. Anyway, so he goes on to say that he has a website that you can join and be part of the coalition. So we'll see if we can.
What's called a biodiversity credit. Biodiversity sounds pretty good. We have to expose it. So I started a group, the High Lonesome Society. You can go to highlonesomesociety.com and join that group. That's where we're going to start, because I don't know what else to do. I'm Trinity Vandenaker. Until next time.
So Highland, what did he say? Shoot. Anyway, we can rewind it if we need to, but check out that website, be part of it. it's going to be probably necessary at some point in time. All right, so getting into the actual meat of the day, this is something that I came across before last week, but I didn't get a chance to cover it through everything else. But this, he claims that he's found evidence that Gavin Newsom is paying protesters. So what, I've been trying to find some information on my own, and I haven't really found much. But I'll go ahead and let him talk, and we'll go through it real quick.
We got him. I believe that I have caught Governor Gavin Newsom in one of the biggest scandals in American history. I mean, this is some Watergate level stuff. Even if Gavin Newsom wasn't directly involved, even if he wasn't calling the shots, the buck is supposed to stop with the highest level of the administration. It is 6 a.m. right now as I record this video. I have not slept for the second night in a row. I have been up all night investigating the California state expenditure, your tax dollars, and where they're going. If you support my work and all of the sleepless votes, I thought, maybe I'll lay the groundwork for California fraud in the.
And I believe I have this in the description below, so if you want to watch the whole video, feel free to do so. I'm just going to try to jump through this because this was, again, not necessarily on today's docket because it was for last week and I didn't cover it. So let me see if I can find where he talks about. Yeah, here it is. So Inland Coalition for Immigration. This is an actual group that he has going on that has money coming in.
1,925 state dollars in the entirety of their existence. And what I found is that this is an organization whose core function is to conduct and organize protests. I then found that not only were they taking in 6 figures in state tax dollars and then protesting, but also they were hiring protesters. There's a tweet here.
And again, so ICIJ is hiring a new high desert organizer. If you're passionate about the intersections of environmental justice and immigrant justice, live in the high desert, and are interested in building power in your community, this is for you. We're hiring. So kind of interesting there. Let's see. I've got a newcomer here, Dux Y. I'm not sure if I've ever seen you in my chat. I appreciate the engagement. Kind of just going over a bunch of different topics and conversations. Logos Orthodox channel. I'm not necessarily Orthodox, but I am Christian. Just trying to bring awareness to things. Exactly, Tara. What the frick is that? Yeah, so we're not reinventing geopolitics, but we're just trying to get to the bottom of it, I guess. All right, so jumping through this here. So like I said, he's putting out flyers for hiring these kind of things.
Justice Outside, which is another environmental advocacy organization. One of their core pillars is protesting. They've taken in $879,900.
So again, a different organization, and almost $1 million on that one. Yep, almost $1 million on that one. Here's another one. Almost 3. What is that? 3 billion. Another flyer we're hiring. Fucking crazy, guys. Is that another one? Ducks here too. I must be moving up. Nice. Gotta love it, guys. Hasn't come here yet, but I'm sure it will. Yeah. All right.
A regional organizer. To apply, visit gatheringforjustice.org/careers. Now, what is most shocking and alarming about the Gathering for Justice is that they're not based in California. They are based in New York City. But ironically, in 2023, just before the presidential election, they received a massive bump in funding from the California state government. Now here's our big fish. I came across an organization called the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights. Their website is full of photos of them protesting. Much like the other organizations, protesting is one of their core pillars. On their Mission in History page, the banner on their website is a protest with a sign that says Resistencia Immigrante, resist immigration enforcement. This organization has taken in $115
million for yet another one. And the headquarters isn't even in California. Like, what is going on with this? This is crazy.
$104,817.11 as champions of opportunity and empowerment.
And here's another one, National Diversity Coalition. Yeah. Again, if you guys want to check this out for sure, check it out. I don't necessarily want to go through that. It wasn't necessarily on the docket, but again, as it's newer, I wanted to bring it forth so that you guys can see it and so you can kind of start to bring it to people's attention as you can too.
The NDC is a nonprofit promoting opportunity, going to a literal
and another one. Holy cow. CA Strategies and Advocacy LLC. Holy cow. And another one, Genders and Sexual Alliance. All right. Let's see. Okay. So we'll get into what I wanted to cover. This is another one that's been around for a minute. It was produced 3 weeks ago, but it's something that we all need to be aware of and be kind of paying attention to happening. But
so there's a macro theory out there that we are moving from a globalized dollar-based world to a world where power is more evenly distributed. Now, in this transition, the role of the dollar is going to change. So if you're wondering what's happening to the dollar right now, it looks like we are watching the breaking down of the current monetary order.
Let's step back from the sensational and be clear about.
So somewhat on the same lines as what I was just referring to. But this is a big thing. If you don't know about BRICS and the coalition between Britain and, Russia and things like that, definitely look into that kind of stuff. This is what's going to be tied with that.
What I mean, the monetary order is breaking down.
Okay, so what does that mean? So this right here is a gold certificate from the year 1928. That meant you could go to the bank, present the certificate, and get some physical gold for it. Or you could go to the bank and present something like this, which is a silver certificate, which has this blue stamp on it, and get some silver. That was the original job of the banks, to protect real money. None of these certificates say Federal Reserve note anywhere, like our money does today. Now, this was an era in US history that was known as hard money. But in 1971, when the country was on the verge of bankruptcy, the US left the gold standard. So the world entered into a new monetary order, where the dollar became the center of everything without being backed by anything.
And then he went on to a fiat system where it can fluctuate and adjust. Yeah, Tara, this has been planned for over 100 years. And that's exactly it. All of this is by design.
And the world came to a new agreement. We said, okay, all countries will now sell their stuff and their energy in dollars, and then recycle those dollars back into US assets like treasury bonds and the US stock market. So the stock market went up forever, and Americans got to live beyond their means. That kept the demand for the dollar high, and it allowed America to run trade deficits where we could borrow cheap money, we could offshore jobs, and we could consume more than we made. But for that system to work, the dollar has to stay strong, and it stayed strong thanks to the military-industrial complex. In all of
the military and the fiat system is what holds it together. blood logos, Rothschild system. Yep. I agree.
That is changing. And what we saw at the most recent World Economic Forum was a conversation about how to divide that power.
The rules-based order is fading. We believe that from the fracture, we can build something bigger, better, stronger, more just.
And what we're seeing now are new trade agreements and countries diversifying their reserves.
My biggest issue is, where did the WEF come from? I don't remember asking for anybody to tell me how to live my life other than the people that I vote for in my country. So I'm not sure what these WEF, the World Economic Forum, where they get their ability to tell us how to be.
So instead of holding dollars in the form of treasuries, they want more forms of hard money. And that's why we're seeing assets like gold.
Thank you for the engagement while you were here, Duck. No hard feelings. Appreciate you being here.
And silver repricing right now. And there's a lot of volatility because no one knows where this is going to go.
And this is that moment. This is that hinge point in history that we see every couple of generations. Doesn't make it going to be easy. Doesn't mean that every decision's obvious.
Now, countries are not necessarily dumping the dollar overnight because that would negatively affect their own wallets. But what they are doing is they are diversifying their reserves. Central banks are buying more gold instead of only holding US treasuries. And China has already built the payment system that does not rely on US banks. At the same time, the United States has a huge debt problem and a shrinking industrial base, which means it can't keep running the old model forever, where it imports everything, it exports paper money while funding the forever war model around the world. And that change to the monetary order is maybe why we're seeing gold and silver explode and the dollar getting weaker. So
so the dollar is getting weaker. Whether anybody wants to admit it, whether anybody wants to see it or not, it is getting weaker with the ability to buy things and use it. TNT, yeah, good. He figured it out, I guess. Stacy, definitely not his kind of people. No, Duck. I'm not sure who it was. I don't know if I've ever even seen him in the other streams, but I think I got the kitchen sink done now. If my wife and the demolition machine can just stop breaking stuff. Fair enough, Hardwire. Appreciate the engagement, buddy. Yeah, his words. I thought it was a bot too when first started coming in, and then he kept engaging. So that was interesting. Anyway, moving on.
This video, I want to explain exactly what's happening with the dollar, why the plan might be to weaken it, and where we might go from here. Now, a portion of this video was sponsored by Webull, but more about them later. So with that said, let's get into it. Hi, my name is Andre Jick. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance. Lower the interest rates. Depends on which version of America we're rooting for. Because there's really two different US economies. The first is the America that we've lived in for the last 40 years. We can call it the financialized America, right? This is the one that's built on a strong dollar, cheap imports, rising asset prices, and expanding debt. Because a strong dollar leads to cheap imports, which leads to higher spending power, which leads to more borrowing, which gives us bigger and bigger financial markets, right? It's ultimately more debt. That's the world we live in right now. In this system, America's main export, aka the thing it makes the most of, are dollars, treasury bonds, financial assets.
Hey, Long Haul Nate. I appreciate the engagement, buddy. I haven't seen you in a bit in my chat, so I appreciate you being here, man. I hope the long haul is going well.
A strong dollar made America feel richer because everything overseas was cheaper for us to buy. And this was by design. Because that system incentivized US corporations to make the input costs, aka the labor, as cheap as possible. Through things like NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement.
Last you heard the silver and gold is decreasing, huh? I hadn't heard that. That's interesting. Might have to look into that because last I'd heard it was still climbing slowly, but it was still climbing. That's interesting. Yeah, Stacy. Apparently, we all thought it was. He blocked me. Oh wow, interesting. Because I would time him out for being a shithead to people I was allowed to, and he ended up blocking almost all the mods. What a poser. All right. Well, at least he tried. It was pretty impressive for him to say it wasn't his thing and to have a good stream. That was pretty impressive. Give credit where credit is due for Duck there.
It made it easier to offshore jobs because using American labor is expensive. So companies were like, okay, well, let's avoid using American labor if possible. And let's instead borrow as much money as cheaply as possible and then use that money to pump up our stock values. That model worked really well, but it only works as long as the rest of the world keeps buying US debt forever, which are the US treasuries. That's the America that benefits most from a stronger dollar. Well, then there's the other side of America, the productive America. This is.
So now I'm kind of curious, TVT, you said you talked to him. Is he left or what, where is his standing? Do you know? I'm curious why he said he wasn't his people after staying here for as long as he did. That was interesting. Yeah, TNT, what's worse, being a bot or people thinking you're a bot? I would say thinking that you're a bot would be worse, to be completely honest. Yeah, anyway.
The version that actually builds things, produces energy, runs the factories, right? Makes the stuff the world needs. But there's a trade-off. If the US wants to get back to that America, to rebuild its industry, it doesn't benefit much from a stronger dollar. Why? Again, a strong dollar makes your labor more expensive, which means less incentive for companies to build in the US. So the same dollar strength that made consumers feel rich relative to the rest of the world is also what hollowed out American industry. So from that perspective, the US might want a weaker dollar because it lowers the real burden of debt over time, right? It makes making stuff at home more competitive with the rest of the world. It pushes money or capital toward real output and real assets instead of just more financial speculation, which more so benefits industries like the banking industry because the banks profit more from high interest rates, dollar dominance, and global lending.
Yeah, I'm curious too. What made him decide that we weren't his people? Because no offense, guys, but we're pretty milk toast. Yeah, I agree, Apprentice. Okay, long haul. Duck is most definitely left and is most definitely an underground individual. Okay, fair enough. Maybe we can bring him back and we can talk to him, get him on some panels or something. One of these days, maybe. During the month of February, gold lost 10% and silver lost up to 31%, suffering its sharpest decline in many years. Wow, that is nuts. Interesting. Yes, please. Thank you, Long Haul. In the meantime, like and subscribe to avoid eating non-lemon sorbet. Exactly. All right. Long Haul, too bad he didn't stick around then. Alter could have used some company, and I'd love to pick his brain in an interested party stance, not an attack stance. I agree entirely on that one, Apprentice. I would have loved to be able to talk to him and get him into the Discord and maybe onto one of the panels to side with Alter so that we can get some more pushback so it's not 5-on-1 with Alter, the poor guy.
So the two are kind of in conflict, quite literally, because the president is suing JP Morgan for debanking his family, but I'm not going to speculate on that. So a weaker dollar is both good and bad. It's good because if you want to win as a country, that's how you play the game. Long term, right? You build real things. That's what China did. But a weaker dollar can be bad because the transition is painful and it can last decades because Americans got used to the benefits of the old system and it takes a long time to fix the economy.
Fair enough, Vic. I appreciate you letting me know of that. You can do what you want on your channel, of course. I know. I appreciate you letting me know. But he's on Sarah Tomato's panel, and he usually goes off on long tangents and lefty nonsense. Yeah, I don't necessarily want to care for that kind of stuff. Like, I think his name is C-Car or something like that. He just goes off on a bunch of tangents. I was on a panel on Speakeasy, and he was there, and I wasn't impressed. There's better lefties to have on. Yeah, I'm hoping that we can find some good ones. I agree, Apprentice. Good to know. Okay, so yeah, quite a weirdo. Someone actually got him to say he was interesting during a debate. It was crazy. He's been on Grid's Friday debate thing. Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, sorry.
There's a lot of unknowns, which ultimately leads to volatility in all the markets. Now, before we continue, markets are always trying to price in what happens to the world in the future. And now there are markets built specifically around that idea. I've been looking at Webull's prediction markets where participants in Webull Financial LLC for this promotion are allowed to be shrunk in all the money in the world. Just this $10, for example.
Sorry, just trying to skip over his multiple promotions, apparently. I appreciate Vic. I appreciate your input, though. You've been doing it for longer, even though it's my channel. I do appreciate people giving the feedback, and the constructive criticism is greatly appreciated from anybody, for that matter. Whether I use it or not is up to me, right? But I appreciate it. Okay, so
then I charged you a small 1% interest for borrowing it. The question is, where will you get the money to pay me the interest from? If this is all the money in existence, where do you get the interest? You couldn't pay me back. There's no more base money. So you have to expand it, right? You have to make more. Now that's an oversimplification, but the idea is that the system that's built on credit, growth, and expansion are needed for stability. That is how, for decades and decades, the US ran what was basically a consumer of last resort model, meaning the world made stuff, sold it to America, it earned dollars, and recycled those dollars back into US assets. That kept the dollar strong, interest rates low, propped up by countries like Japan, which was the interest-free lender. But that system depended on other countries wanting to hold unlimited dollar reserves. Today, this is changing. Countries and central banks are diversifying. And now we can see that gold has actually overtaken treasuries in central bank foreign exchange reserves. Think of foreign exchange reserves, by the way, as a bank's piggy bank, right? A reserve wallet where it keeps lots of different currencies. And this is exactly what Ray Dalio is describing in one of his latest interviews.
We're going to have a supply-demand problem for debt at the same time as we have these other problems.
Supply-demand problem for debt, meaning we have a lot more supply of our debt and not enough demand around the world to buy it.
Yeah, nobody wants to buy our debt anymore because we have too much of it. We're too much of a liability. So they're trying to start to rearrange the monetary system, and it could be beneficial, but we want to keep our eye on this kind of stuff. Let's see. Yeah, that was, I'm not sure, Duck Y, I think was his name. Not the same duck as Never Lucky Rubber Ducky. That Ducky, he's an OG. He's been around for a while on my channel. He's a good guy. Very much appreciate you, Elmo. Good to have you in the chat. All right. Get through this here.
Instead,
hopefully.
We can see that central banks have been buying gold pretty aggressively over the last few years. They're buying gold so that they could protect themselves against whatever system replaces this monetary experiment we're running. Now, in a more technical explanation, something called Basel III changed how banks value gold on their balance sheet as of last year. And now gold is considered a higher quality reserve asset, valued at the market price instead of a discounted price. Now that doesn't mean gold replaces treasuries in the global plumbing system, but it does make gold a lot more attractive as a neutral reserve outside the dollar system. And as a result of the debasement, again to us, to normal people, it looks like the price of assets goes up forever, right? That's the line in black. This is the MSCI index excluding the US and the same index including the US. And it looks like the stock market goes up all around the world. But if you look at both of the indexes as measured in gold instead of dollars, which is shown by the blue line, you'll see that the market has actually lost value in comparison to gold since the year 2000.
And again, like Tara had mentioned earlier, this is by design, right? Been kind of watching this stuff, even in cartoons. I don't know if it was an actual cartoon or if it was just animated things, the propaganda that they put out, but it was buy, spend, bust the dollar, so that they can create a new style of monetary system. Once they can get us into the digital IDs, the CBDCs, those kind of things, they have ultimate control at that point in time. We cannot, cash is king. Gold is what has to continue to back up money. I don't know exactly how that will work because, again, I'm a potato, so I'm not saying that it has to be what it is. But this idea that the fiat system, the fiat currency, we've got to find something to back it again.
Again, this is slightly cherry-picking data, but one could argue the last 20 years is a good enough example to prove the point. There's strong...
Yeah, exactly, Klondike. Brass in certain forms will be more valuable than gold. You need the brass to defend gold, food, etc. Your home, your livestock, your whatever. So yeah, I think that in the end times is going to be a lot more valuable than precious metals that you can't use to create food. You can buy it, but you can't create it of your own volition with gold, where brass you can. Being super poor, stocking up on food, water, since booms already aren't exactly legal. We are trying to figure out how to get something other than dogs for protection. Oh, I got you. Yeah, Stacy, I hope that you can find something to make sure that you're taken care of.
Evidence of the fact that this has been accelerated by China and all the central banks buying tons of gold.
And again, like I was talking about before, if you haven't looked into BRICS, do so, because they're the ones who have been buying up gold for a last decade, if not longer, trying to get a currency that rivals the dollar, the American dollar. And we can't allow that to happen. I don't know exactly how to make it, but...
So they could build out this parallel system to the dollar instead of using only treasuries. What all of this means then is that the structural demand for dollars might not grow the way it did before. And that's exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing the demand for dollars gradually going down. That's what Ray Dalio is describing. Dollars are debt in the form of treasuries. And if the demand for them goes down, that means in the future, we might see a lot more inflation. Peter Schiff is someone that believes that's exactly what's going to happen.
But Peter, people's incomes are pretty solid. We're starting to see some real gains in productivity. So let's call it the coldest.
We're not seeing that, Liz. Unfortunately, the numbers are not accurate. They're highly skewed. They're going to be revised, and a lot of it is being influenced by inflation. Inflation is going to be much more pernicious over the next few years than it.
So on that one, Elmo, I'm working on it. You have to have a certain amount of members, or I'm sorry, a certain amount of subscribers. I believe it's 500 subscribers, and then I have to be able to be monetized in order to get the super chats and memberships. But and this is not something I usually ask, but if you would be wanting to support the channel, there are some links that you can provide, Cash App and Venmo. But that's not something I ask for. So it's just so you know what I'm dealing with at this point in time. I'm just not there yet. But I'm working on it, and if you know of anybody, have them subscribe. Get me up there. And 3,000 watch hours. Yeah, I have to have the 3,000 watch hours and then the 500 subscribers. And the subscribers are mainly the more important thing. So if you know of anybody, definitely let them know I'm around.
Was when Biden was president. Unfortunately, that's what gold and silver are telling you. They are a warning.
So now that we hopefully understand the dollar is getting weaker in relative terms, and that this serves as a structural economic purpose to make the U.S. more competitive, but that it could also bring about inflation, especially in the asset space. The next question is, who benefits the most from this kind of a transition? So let me sort of explain this through the lens of my last video using the 4 power players, starting with the financial industrial complex, aka transnational capital, money that transcends nations.
TVT or one of you, would you mind dropping the link for him. It's up at the top. I know that it is. I posted it earlier if you haven't, but if you would mind, I'd appreciate it. Elmo, yeah, anything, guys. I seriously, I don't expect anything, but if you do, like, I'll be like almost internally in your debt, kind of a thing. Obviously, that's not really possible, but I will do everything I can to make it worth your while.
Remember, this power comes from controlling the financial plumbing system. These are things like the debt markets, the stock markets, proxy votes, etc. What they want control over is the flow of capital. They do this how? With the 3 asset managers we mentioned in the last video that together manage more than $30 trillion.
Yeah, I'm not sure again why it's not showing me all of my chats, but I see Blood. You said that I'll get there. I appreciate you saying that. You're not quite there yet either, huh? Yeah, if you guys aren't subscribed to Blood Logos, definitely go check him out. And somebody in the chat, if you want to go ahead and drop his link in the chat. And anybody else that you can think of that I've mentioned inside the circle, Tyler TV, he can be dropped. Those kind of things. Definitely give them a shout out since we're trying to get me up to 500. Let's try to get them up to 500 as well. And then let's see. Oh, really? Hardwire, you've had a lot, but still don't have the watch hours. Okay, fair enough. So if you are not part of Hardwire's crew, definitely check him out, get some views in so he can try to get there to be monetized as well. Yeah, TVT, thank you very much for that. Share the stream. Let's get this monetized. Let's go, right? All right. Anyway, I'll shut up now. Yeah, I appreciate you, Abe. Check him out. Got to help our crews out, right? All right. Anyway.
With that money, they use their clients' votes as proxies to influence the direction of a company and who gets hired to run them. And then, of course, there's the banks, which want
CBDC,
central bank digital currencies. They want to stay relevant in this transition. Okay, but why would all these guys be fine with a weaker dollar? And they'd be fine because they don't measure their wealth in dollars. They measure it in ownership of real.
Blood, I appreciate you, buddy. I know I don't need to do it. I want to do this. This is what I built my channel for. This is what I want to do, is to bring the good to the surface. And you're good, Blood. I've seen enough of your content to know that you're trying, man. So I'll do everything that I can to help anybody that are on my side. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I try, at least.
Assets, real money, which might be things like stocks, real estate, infrastructure, energy, commodities, right? And when a currency gets weaker, those kinds of assets tend to rise in what are called nominal prices. Who it hurts are the people that rely on their job for income, and who it benefits are those with assets. Okay, second player are the sovereigns.
All right, I got it. Let's see, where was it? I know I just saw it. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, Elmo, thank you very much for the donation. Really appreciate that. I will do everything I can to make sure that the content that you're seeing is worth it. I will do everything I can.
Sovereigns, aka the leaders of tier 1 nations, and that would be the people with access to nuclear weapons. Now, what they want is more control over their supply chains, their energy, production, and their people. And a slightly weaker currency helps rebalance trade in their favor because it makes domestic production, aka the stuff a country makes at home, cheaper to make, and therefore more competitive when they sell it overseas. So while a strong dollar benefits consumers when we go to buy stuff overseas, a weaker currency can benefit nations trying to rebuild their industries, and it reduces their dependency on the old model where they have to run deficits to fuel their growth. So a sovereign...
That means a lot to me, Elmo. I appreciate you saying that, man. I will do everything I can to keep it that way. Yeah, and I did get it. I did. It says I keep my word. So I thank you for that.
Power like the United States could benefit from the weaker dollar. I know how insanely complicated this might sound, but I hope all of this makes a little bit of sense. Now, I should also mention there's a slightly deeper layer to all of this, and I don't like talking about it because it walks the fine line of conspiracy, but it's the layer that is the competition with China for as much control, especially over society, as possible. Right? That's the China model. This is where the third power player comes in. That's the tech industrial complex. As the old monetary order becomes less dominant, whoever controls the new systems of technology gets more influence, it gets more powerful. Now, in my last video, I saw a comment that someone asked that I think ties into this, which is, how do mass deportations benefit the financial industrial complex? It's a really great question. So I'll be very careful how I answer it, but I hope you can read between the lines. You see, throughout history, a lot of economic transitional periods coincided with new systems that are sold to us as protection, digital identity tools, financial tracking systems, and more centralized infrastructure. That's because uncertainty in markets, uncertainty in society, increases the demand and the need for systems to control this unrest. So let me just say this a little bit easier. When things get crazy around the world, technology is sold as the thing that will make us safer. Technology then becomes the solution that is offered to people during times of instability, and these technologies can change the architecture of society, for better or sometimes for worse. This is where digital IDs, social credit scores, car switches, all that stuff comes in. Now, the fourth player in all of this is the military industrial complex. And that's just the layer that enforces all these changes, oftentimes through instability, using, for example, religion as a precursor, right? As a justifier. When there's such a big change in power, and we don't really know the outcome of this, nations tend to do what? They invest more in their defense, in their energy sectors, strategic leverage, aka consolidating their regional proxies, aka the land and resource grabs. So that is the four major power players and how they benefit. Okay, so then the question is, what does all this mean for the average person? And the honest answer is, I don't know, because I haven't lived 1,000 lifetimes. But the way I see it is, there seems to be a fork in the road. One path is the inflation path, and the other is deflation. Now, on path number one, inflation, that could be triggered by maybe the new Fed chair, Kevin Warsh, who's expected to lower rates, but maybe he doesn't, because he's been hawkish in the past. That means volatility in the short term. Now, if rates do go down and it does become easier for people to borrow money, then it becomes easier for the country to roll the debt over. And if the world slowly wants less and less treasuries and maybe more gold, like what we're seeing, that also means maybe more dollars stay inside the country. That means deficits might grow and maybe the currency weakens. And in that world, asset prices can still go up. Stocks, real estate, commodities, right? They can still go to the moon, partially because that measuring stick we talked about, it's the dollar, right? It's shrinking thanks to inflation. So your portfolio goes up, but maybe your purchasing power doesn't go up at the same rate. So life still gets more expensive for those without assets. Now, the other path may be less optimistic. If investors around the world look at the US and they're like, oh man, I don't have confidence in the US anymore. If capital leaves, and if interest rates go to maybe fight inflation of some sort, then asset prices could also fall. That's much more painful of an outcome in the short term. I don't think it's the most likely outcome necessarily, but I think it's still a risk. So either way this plays out, whether it's inflation or deflation or some other option that we're not considering, I think this transition still favors people who own assets more than people who rely on incomes. That's the K-shaped world that we've been living in. And I think that divide will continue to grow. Now, maybe technology and AI eventually creates a world that Elon talks about where robots do everything for us and it's utopia and everything's great. Maybe we get a productivity boom that offsets all of it. But even if we get there someday, the point between now and that perfect future might be painful for the people who are not prepared for the time that it takes to get us there.
Yeah, it's gonna be painful. The thing is we don't, AI taking over we've seen Wall-E, we've seen multiple videos that basically show what would happen if AI were to take over entirely. And none of them seem like they would be good. Like, yeah, okay, you can sit around and be lazy and do nothing and get super heavy. That's cool. Not necessarily what I care to do personally. Klondike, I'm a Muppet, but not, I'm a Muppet, not that bright, but I like what I like. And I appreciate you being here. I'm a potato, so, you know, there's that. Hardwire, I dig your channel. If not, I wouldn't come hang out. Keep up the good work. I appreciate that. I will do my best to do so. I appreciate the work that you guys do as well. If I don't tune in, it's not because I don't want to, it's just because I don't have time. You know, and then I think that's about it all as far as the chats. That was it for that one. So now I would like to cover a little bit real quick about the most recent, Whatever podcast. If you haven't checked out the Whatever podcast, do so. They've got a lot of interesting takes. And then Andrew will go on every once in a while. And then if you haven't checked out Andrew, The Crucible, or Jake Rattlesnake, check those out as well. I'll just cover this one because we're just about there, and I don't necessarily want to go into where I can hand it over to Hardwire. So I won't cover all of what I was going to cover, but this is where Andrew comes on, or I'm sorry, Rachel Wilson comes on to Rattlesnake's TV and talks about what her experience was basically with this, essentially. So we'll
go in. This bitch is stupid. She's not only just like, look, most people are uninformed on this stuff because unless you're
and maybe I'll go
autistic
get.
and
I said pause, dang it. And maybe I'll get into this a little bit, if I can, because she literally just tramples over. She just constantly railroads the conversation, constantly talks over everybody else, constantly interrupts everybody, including Andrew, including the host, doesn't have any respect for the show or the 10 other people that are there. But she continues to just talk over everybody.
weird like me and you decide to read, you know, hundreds of books on feminism from the 1800s, early 20th century, you're just not gonna know this. And I'm super excited. You guys will see soon, coming later this week. We have a big project coming out where we're going to debunk a lot of this stuff. We're going to set the record straight pretty definitively. So I've been doing research on this for many years, but I really crammed the last couple months. And her first stupid claim, women had no financial independence until the 1970s. So that's the first dumb claim. That's actually not true.
So yeah, if you haven't seen Rachel Wilson's book, Occult Feminism, definitely check that out. Andrew Wilson has a verbal combat. What is it? DebateUniversity.com. There we go. If you haven't checked that out, check that out. If you want to get into debating, it's actually pretty interesting. But if Rachel has something coming out on feminism, I'm pretty excited to see that. That'll be interesting. Yeah, Homestead, she is insufferable through the entire 10 hours of the debate. And like I said, I would really like to kind of cover this maybe next week. I don't know, because now that I've covered this, it won't make as much sense if I were to cover it before it. But there's one clip that I was going to cover after this that really drives the point home. So she is actually moved from chair 8 into chair 3, I believe, because she's not on their side. So she can't be on their side of the table. She has to be put onto the opposition's side of the table. And while she's there, they start talking to chair 1, I believe, about some things. And you can see her like biting her lip, trying to come in and interrupt the conversation. And Brian has to keep telling her to just wait. And then she finally she's like, can I finally chime in on this conversation? And it's like the whole thing you've been chiming in whenever you want to, like, holy cow. Yeah, Blood Logos, the debate last night was hilarious. I knew it was going to happen, unfortunately, because I had been being told that she was MIA for like 24 hours prior to the stream happening. And then when it started, everybody in the chat was like, "Oh, she won't cam up. She won't cam up." So I figured it was going to happen. And so if you haven't seen that, she just flakes. She flakes out on Rachel, RFH or something like that. Just flakes. It was so bad. I was so excited to see it because Rachel does a good job of debating, and she's getting really good about logically thinking about things and stuff. And I've been really excited to see more of her debates. And so that was really disappointing. All right.
It's just that prior to the 1970s, only about 6% of women who had children of school age worked outside the home. It was pretty rare. It was usually like your husband died or was a drunkard or abandoned you. And that wasn't most men. How do we know? We know because only about 6% of women, it was even less at certain points.
And see, that's just is. We have the statistics to show how many single mothers there were, how many stay-at-home mothers and things like this and that and the other. And she's basically here to tell you that women had a lot more leeway back then than they do now. They had a lot more rights than they do now because of the simple fact that you had the moral high ground to be able to say, I can't be bought. I can't be swayed to vote a certain way. So I am literally neutral. So what I say has some moral grounding to it. Now you can't do that anymore, ladies. All you can do is, I'm another voter. Pay me off.
In history, but let's just say the first half of the 20th century, on average, it was about 6% of women with school-age children who actually worked full-time outside the house. They lived and ate food and survived somehow. So we're going to assume that most of the other 94% had husbands providing for them. If that's the case, what they're talking about, so they'll conflate stuff and they'll basically lie. But what they're doing is they're like framing things to make it sound like women weren't allowed, right? Women weren't allowed to have their own anything. Not true. You could have, and many women did have, checking accounts, saving accounts, and even credit cards.
Is that in Iran or something like that? Is that what that is? The 3 U.S. soldiers have been killed, passed away. Reports coming in. TVT. That's not good. Like I said, anytime that U.S. soldier, I don't like any unalivings, any loss. It's not my cup of tea. But for our people, for the people that are supposed to be Americans or that are Americans that are helping these other countries that are passing away, I don't like hearing that. 3 passed, 5 critical injury. Okay, so somewhere in the Middle East. Oh, I got you. Okay, fair enough. So much going on, guys. So much going on.
It's just that most women didn't. It's not that they were barred. There was never a law saying you couldn't. It was never illegal. It was never even written into policy for the.
I know why she didn't cam up, Homestead. It was an excuse to get out of the debate. She knew that she was in over her head. She was looking for a way to get out of the debate, and for the last 24 hours, she was scared, trying to figure it out. And when she to save face, she went, but then and the distraction, the interrupting the opening statements, she did it on purpose. She wanted to get booted. She even says, "Just boot me then." She wanted to get booted. That was the whole point. Yeah, exactly, Abe. Not good. Be prayerful, folks. Christ is God. Christ is the one that we need to be turning to.
The vast majority of financial institutions. It was simply the case that if you did not have your own independent source of income, you had to have a cosigner, just like now. So
yeah. Like she's saying here, you have to have a cosigner now. If you don't work, like they didn't because they didn't have to. It's not like it was air-conditioned offices and all of these good benefits and amenities that we have nowadays. It was the fact that you had to go into a coal mine, and 90% of women don't want to go into a coal mine. 90% of women do not want to be on the oil rigs, right? That's the reason that they're not there. Not because they can't be there, just because they don't want to be there. 90% of the time, we will kowtow to them to allow them to be there so that they can feel empowered, because we're nice like that. But yeah, Tara, she ran because she knew she was going to get dookie nuked. Exactly. That's funny. I would hate to get mauled by Rachel as well, but that's why you don't take the debate in the first place unless you're willing to get mauled. And that's the thing, is I'm willing to get mauled. I'm willing to do it, because if someone challenged me and I accept the challenge, that's the thing, is I probably won't accept the challenge because I'm a potato. No, seriously though, if I were to accept the challenge, I would show up. I'd get wrecked. I don't care. It's the integrity. It's the name of the game. And the camming up, you can't not cam up. That's the thing about like Tyler's Friday Fast debates. We're trying to make it so that you have to cam up, because you can have somebody else in the room and they can be feeding you information. You can be on your phone. You can be sitting here with Chat GBT and just have the Chat GBT listening and just feeding you into your other earpiece. There's so many things that can be happening if they don't have the camera on. So we have to be camming up to be doing these debates for fairness. All right.
If Jake moves to America and he comes here and he goes to Chase Bank and he says, "Hello, I would like to get a loan and a credit card," they would say, "Okay, here's all this financial information we need from you." And if Jake was like, "I don't have a job and I don't make any money, I just live, with my brother and Vinny pays all the bills," they would.
Yeah, you're right, Homestead. I'm sure I am being super generous. I'm just trying not to be a misogynist, right? No, seriously though, 99% of women don't want to work that hard in the coal mine, the oil field, construction, brick and stone, roofing. I don't know if I've ever seen, maybe one on a roof at one point in time, but not many at all.
Be like, "Okay, well, we can't grant you these things on your own because you don't have any income to show. So if you can get Vinny or your dad to co-sign for you, we might be able to do that." It was the same.
I'm a potato, Elmo. I mean, I'm not telling you to cam up by any means. If you don't want to cam up, don't. But I know I'm not the best looker in the world, but I'm willing to cam up because I know that it's more personal this way. It allows people to feel that they can trust me a little bit easier with my face being shown, and me willing to be put out on the line like I am.
Rules, okay? But they make it sound like women were not allowed, like we were prohibited, like there was some kind of law on the books that said you must depend on a man, and even if he's beating you or cheating on you, you have to use his money and you can't have your own.
Hey, Joseph, good to see you, man. I don't know if I've seen you in the chat lately. I know you've been busy and stuff, so I appreciate you engaging where you can. Greatly appreciate you, man.
Now, going back further to, prior to the 19th Amendment, women's earnings were considered part of the household income, and their husband did have control over that.
And that's the thing right there is the coverture laws, the laws that made it so that you were responsible for the debt, you were responsible for the property, you were responsible for the children. The money had to be put into the communal funds so that you could both take care of the kids. Especially when you're not making very much money, when the money that back then was like, what, 25 cents an hour or a penny an hour or whatever. You're not making very much money to be putting toward the household. Yeah, the household is $25 a year or whatever, but you know what I mean.
But once again, it was not this thing where it was like, "Hey, bitch, you don't get to have any money. We're taking your earnings and I'm going to do what I want with it. And if I want to spend it on beer and hookers, I will."
No, that's what we do now. Joseph, I'm all over the place, but I know where home is. That's good. You're always welcome here, man. Everybody is always welcome in Tater Nation. No matter where you are, no matter what your creed, your background, you have a place in Tater Nation if you want the place, but you have to be willing to be part of Tater Nation. You're going to assimilate into Tater Nation if you're going to be part of Tater Nation. All right.
You know,
Yeah.
it was not how it worked. So, yes, women's income was considered part of the household income, and the husband was considered head of the household. But why? Because only men could be held liable for finances. And Andrew goes into that a little bit. He does try to tell her this, but she just glosses over it and moves
She
past
just
it.
keeps talking.
And
She won't shut the f up
she
every time he
just,
tries to
yeah,
talk.
she just
It's-
steamrolls.
She just steamrolls over everybody. Again, like, I really wish I had a little bit more time now because she's like, at one point, I think it's in this part or maybe one of the other parts, she's like, okay, girls, hold on. They're all trying to interrupt. They all want to be part. They're all there to talk to Andrew. And she hogs the entire debate. And like during this one point, they're all talking. They're all trying to chime in. And he's like, and she's like, hold on, ladies, hold on, one at a time, because it's me. It's my time. I want to talk. Me. None of you can talk. Oh man, it's terrible. It's just terrible. Elmo, I'm more worried about my wife yelling at me in the middle of a debate. That's funny. I know that you're just joking, but that's hilarious, man. Oh yay, the hubby fixed it. That's awesome, Stacy. I'm glad to hear it. All right, moving on.
She just steamrolls right over and just talks and talks and talks. And
What
doesn't
annoys
matter
me
how
about
much-
this is it's like they just talk for the sake of talking, and they think that because they're talking a lot that they're doing a good job. But it's just the lowest IQ arguments, don't understand basic logic, keep on making everything about yourself. I mean, it would be fun to watch you do a long form debate with this chick, Rach, because it would be really interesting and awesome to see like you actually debunk the femcon narratives. But I don't know, Andrew doing it, it would be good. I would obviously review it and everything, but the poor guy, you know what I mean?
Poor guy. Seriously though, they talk about a one-on-one debate with her and Andrew at a later time, and she's like, "Yeah, I'll be there." And like, I don't know if she's actually, you know, because every time that they leave the set, they never actually go through with it or whatever. But it's just funny because whenever Rachel comes out, it's almost immediately they just like quiet down. They realize that they're up against another female and they don't want to like do anything to, you know, cause issues there.
He had to sit there for
I know.
freaking 9 hours against not so erudite. Can someone give him a medal?
And the reason that, you know, we bust out Rach the secret weapon on occasion is because if you watch this, you'll notice that through the whole thing, she is doing her little smirky smirk. She's doing
Yep.
a little funny little smirk and a little side eye grin to the camera because she knows.
Yeah, the whole time, the whole debate, she's sitting there looking over at the rest of the group like, are you going to back me up? Like, am I right here? Like, you need to be like, do you really need to be smoothed over? If you know where you stand, you should be able to say it and not have to look anywhere else. I understand that maybe she's like trying to incorporate the rest of the group. When I'm trying to talk to like a customer, for example, and I'm trying to talk to, you know, the breadwinner because they're the ones who's paying the bill, but the wife will always want to be part of it. Right. And so I want to look over and give her credit. But in this scenario, she keeps looking over like, haha, see, I'm doing so good. Like, look at me. And she even pulls I think it's the Thwarps. And if anybody knows Andrew, you probably know the name, but they go into the chat and they start trolling. And so Andrew asks Brian to ban them from the chat. And before he can ban them, she freaking starts reading the chat out loud. And then when he's like, stop, like I'm almost positive he tells them not to do that before the show even starts. So she explicitly ignores the rules and he's like, stop. And she like looks over and like smirks at the other girls and at the camera like, haha, look at me. Oh man, this chick is insufferable. Yeah, that's fair. Brian offered it to try to extend Andrew's trip, but he said she couldn't because Rachel's Rogan episode. But then he asks if maybe later. And so hopefully they do come back. I'm not sure. I know Andrew's really busy. Andrew laughs and shakes his head and says, and she goes, "What? You scared?" And he went, "No, you aren't a good debater," and laughed. Yeah, she's not even a good, it would be an insufferable debate because it wouldn't be a debate. She would just sit there because she strawmans them the whole time. Again, I'm going to have to cover this, I guess, but she strawmans them the whole entire time. She ad hominems, red herrings. I think she even pulls a no true Scotsman fallacy at one point in time. She doesn't even know how to debate. Hey, Pumpkinhead, welcome in. Appreciate you being here and an engagement that we can have. Yeah. Oh yeah, I just got the invite back. So how about that? Yeah. She was so proud of herself because she got invited back and then anyway.
That when she goes on this show, if Andrew and Brian finally get tired of her dumb bullshit and they go, "Hey, shut the up," then
yeah, Pumpkinhead, the chick in the black shirt, the conservative on the panel, the femcon, as we find out later.
she goes, "Wow, look how rude and misogynistic
Abusive.
and nasty they are," and it'll be the same thing as what happened with Chuck, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly what she was doing, exactly what she was waiting for. She was waiting for Andrew to either snap at her to say, "Hey, are you going to let me talk?" or something along those lines where she can blow it out of proportion and see, look at how misogynist they are. They won't even let me talk. That's exactly what she was trying to do.
Where everybody goes, "Wow, those guys are so unhinged and misogynistic, and they just have women on the podcast to abuse them. Can you believe these horrible men? They're so terrible.
Yeah.
I can't believe the way they talk to a lady." So she knows that. She knows exactly what she's doing. And the thing is, you can't get away with that with me. Because what are you gonna do? Cry about it?
I don't think that's RFH. The thumbnail, it was like she had a fucking halo or something like that. Pardon my French, but it was gay as shit. But she had like a halo or something like that, and I think it was super AI. So I'm not sure who it was from the picture. And then she wouldn't cam up on the debate, so I'm not sure. But I think if I remember right, they said that she was pregnant. The RFH chick. So I don't think that was the same. Yeah, not the same chick. Pumpkinhead, Homestead. Thanks for that. Okay.
I'm a woman too. And suddenly when I'm in front of them, they are not this bold. They are not this brave. They are not this empowered, and they are not this confident in themselves because
Well, it's funny that you say that, Elmo. I want to know if she even knows how to make a sandwich because she again, I'll have to maybe cover it because she talks about how she wants women to stay home and take care of she wants women to be able to stay home and take care of the kids, but then also turns around and in the same breath says that they should be able to work and have their own money and stay home. Like,
that whole trick goes out the window. So the whole reason for Rach being there when needed is not because Andrew can't argue the arguments. It's not because Brian can't argue the arguments. It's because you can't pull that bullshit against another woman. So if I say, "Are you going to shut the up and let me talk?" then she has to shut up and let me talk. Otherwise, she looks bad. She looks like the one who is being rude and dismissive and bad faith and whatever.
Oh yeah, I mean you just have to take that weapon away. You have to disarm them with that weapon. That's why we hide the secret power of rage, but then bring them in. That's why it's always the best when Andrew's like, "Well, my wife's here. Do you want to speak to her?" I mean, I'll just unchain her from the oven really quickly. Do you want to speak to her?
Yeah, and then what always happens? What happens every time, you guys? Suddenly, they're much better behaved. Suddenly, this little bratty, smirky, I'm just
yeah, because they can't turn to the camera and say, "They're the misogynist." It's not going to work if Rachel's the one who's saying it. Homestead Wedge, yeah, she refuses to be a wife until they are actually married, and that's the problem. Is they all want chivalry. They all want the man to act as the husband before they're married, but they refuse to do anything. That's one of the things about, Brian. He talks about how they should be willing to do laundry on the first time that they go over to his house, and not the first date. If you're going over to the house on the first date, that speaks more about you than them, to be completely frank. But if you're going over there on the first time, you should be willing to do something like that to show them that you're willing to be that for them. If you expect them to show you that they're willing, it goes both ways, guys. We need to get back to the idea that we have to share responsibilities.
Keep talking. I'm just going to keep talking. It goes right out the window, especially because I'm a little older than them, and I assert myself with confidence, and I actually know what I'm talking about, and they very quickly figure out, uh-oh, I might be in some trouble here. I should probably pipe down a little bit. So that's just, I'm a tool in the toolbox for when you need me for this sort of thing. And the other big bullshit lie she's telling here is, this is a capitalist position. This is a traditionalist position. So I just did this whole project where I go into the history of where this feminist myth of unpaid labor came from. And it came from the Marxist camp of feminism. Now, there was a Western liberal version of feminism that was much more about women's rights and owning property. That's true. But the Marxist camp didn't really care about women or equality necessarily. It was more that the communists, the early ones like August Bebel, they realized we can really use feminism to get Marxism and communism.
Yeah, there was a prominent feminist that said, and I always think about it and then I don't think about pulling it up, but she says that they cannot allow women to want to stay home, because if they allow women to want to stay home, then everyone would want to stay home, and we can't allow that to happen as feminists. So if anybody were to actually know that quote from an actual prominent feminist, why would you be willing to be a feminist? Honestly, really, they want to take your choice. We want to give you the choice. Isn't that a night and day? If the draft included women, everyone would know how to make a sandwich. Exactly, Elmo. Exactly.
Pushed in. And so they had a couple of female labor union Marxists in Italy who came up with the theory of women's unpaid domestic labor.
Right.
Now, of course, as Brian and Andrew pointed out, they're never going to talk about men's unpaid labor. All the times that men have to carry heavy stuff in from the car that you can't pick up, all the times that they have to get up on the roof and get rid of the bee's nest because you ain't going to go up there and do that shit. All the times that they got to go out in the winter storm and start up the power generator and hook it up and fill it with gas and, all the things. Like, look at that chick. Look at that TPUSA broad. Do you think that bitch does anything herself?
She looks like
I
she's just
guarantee she does not.
absolutely, just totally encumbered by.
Oh yeah, she looks like she just works so hard all the time. Pristine nails, all this jewelry, decent length of hair, probably dyed from the way it looks from her eyebrows. I want to say a comment talks about how she's dressing like a 304, and she's like, if this is a 304, and it's like, yeah, you're not a conservative. Like these chicks, the chicks on the right here, the one in the red and the one in the black, are more conservative in the way that they're dressed than you are as a supposedly conservative. Okay. Yeah, Apprentice, exactly. They have no problem with male role expectations, but can't handle the idea that female role expectations must also exist. If they one way, they have to exist the opposite way. Homestead Wench, staying home is amazing. It's the best life. Why wouldn't anybody want to do that? I mean, honestly, I know I'm a guy, so that's my role to just slave my life away. But if I could find somebody to provide for me, why wouldn't I? Honestly, because I'm a guy and it's just not the way I am built. But long story short, Why would anybody not want to just stay at home?
Hard labor by the looks of her. Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't she look like she goes out and trims her own hedges and weeds her
Yeah.
own yard and does all the lawn treatments? She looks like she carries in the cases of heavy stuff that she buys at Costco. She definitely looks like she's under there changing her own oil. It's like these women have never lived. That's my other
Yeah.
big advantage. They've never lived. I've like lived a whole life. I didn't have some cushy.
Yeah, so if her hair is extensions, that explains a lot. I'm a guy, so I can't tell. Pumpkinhead, yeah, I don't like staying at home, but if I were to be provided for, I would find something to do. I mean, I'm on a podcast, so I might do that, and so I might still work, but there's things that you can do from home that give you purpose. You don't have to go out and be part of the rat race to be part of that. A sugar a sugar mama, and you could stay home and build toys. That would be fun. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Exactly, man. Stay at home and just build toys. Work on my crafts, my hobbies. Yeah, heck yeah, man. I'd be down for it. Even if she were to say, yeah, you can't do the podcast, I don't give a I mean, I'd probably do it for free if I could, because yeah, I'm doing it for free now. What's the difference? I do this because I love it. I do it because I care about you guys. I don't do it because I'm hoping to make $1 million someday. I mean, sure, if that does happen, it'd be a perk, and you guys would benefit from it too somehow. I can promise you that. But long story short, I do it because I care about people, and I want to bring unity back to Tater Nation.
Media job straight out of university. I raised 5 kids on a shoestring budget, which we can talk about why it. I had 5 kids. If it cost $200,000,
that's $1 million.
per kid, that's $1
Rach.
million.
Yeah. You guys were millionaires all along. I didn't know that. Yeah.
I promise we did not have $1 million. It wasn't.
Yeah, exactly, Wikimoto. I would be building shit too. Exactly, Apprentice. Luckily, I do have an amazing community. You guys, all of you are so fucking awesome. Yeah, pardon my French. I've been doing it a lot today. I'm sorry. I'll be better next stream. I'm just excited today, I guess. I don't know. When your old lady says do something around the house, I think it's mad because you put a dirt bike track in the front yard. She has to be more specific. There you go. Yep. Abe Dinkus, it's because it's too important not to speak out. Exactly, my friend. Exactly. And we need more people that are willing to speak out. Thank you very much for being one of them. Let's see. All right. Well, I've gone over my stream time. I don't necessarily want to take up, if you guys want to go see Hardwire, I don't want to necessarily keep you guys from seeing his stream. I like not stepping on people's toes, and hopefully with that, I'll be getting better viewership just because I have respect for other people too, right? I don't know. We'll see. Long story short, I would like to cover more of this, but if you would like to see it, it is on Rattlesnake TV. I think it's actually Jake Rattlesnake. So Jake Rattlesnake has 2 different channels. One is Rattlesnake TV. It's got like 900 and something thousand subscribers. And then Jake Rattlesnake, which has 27,600 subscribers. So if you're not subscribed to one and you are subscribed to the other, get on it, right? Get over there and subscribe to the other one. Check this video out. I'm pretty sure it's in the description below, but I won't necessarily drag on with it as much as I kind of do want to. And we'll get into maybe the full length of the debate next time or something like that. But as for now, take care of yourselves, guys, right? I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the engagement, the people. Seriously, if I could do something for you, I would. I'll just continue to give the good content and see if we can make something out of this. As for now, drop your comments in this comment section below. Like, subscribe, share, turn on that notifications bell. Yeah. Please take care of yourselves out there. Remember your Second Amendment rights within the United States. Your response time will always be faster than that of the police. I want to keep you all around and safe. Those outside of the United States, try to stop giving up your rights. You're all very important as well. And for now, obviously, as always, your friendly neighborhood potato signing off. And if I can find my music, I'll get that started. Have a good night, guys.
A line in the sand. He didn't bow when the pressure came, didn't trade conviction for comfort or fame. When truth got heavy and fear ran deep, Charlie Kirk stood, wouldn't retreat. Faith in his chest, spine forged of steel, spoke what was real when lies felt real, when silence paid, when courage burned. He took the heat and the fire turned. They tried to drown it, tried to break the spark, but truth cut sharp in the deepest dark. We are Charlie Kirk. From hostile halls to open ground, he held the line, didn't back it down, didn't preach safe, didn't speak weak, called men to stand, not turn the cheek. Not perfect men, not flawless hands, just fate-driven, truth-bound stands. When the world said bend, he said no, that's how the fire was made to grow. They mocked the faith, they cursed the name, but pressure only feeds the flame. We are Charlie Kirk. Of flesh and bone, it's truth outlasting the microphone. One man spoke, now thousands stand. Faith in our hearts, fire in our hands. We are Charlie Kirk.